Well, right now, the battle for our children's future, it's not being fought in China or in the Middle East. It's happening inside their minds and inside our classrooms. Our kids are being inundated with leftist propaganda every time they open their textbooks or go to the library, where shelves are teeming with inappropriate books.
Ryan Dumpert, Sparta. Last time I was up here, I looked at everybody and I said, I really hope that you will tell your grandkids that you kept pornography out of the libraries and the schools.
Parents in New Jersey fighting back against the far-left transgender agenda in schools, which allows students to switch gender identity without notifying their parents. A new billboard campaign just being launched, warning new parents, New Jersey parents, that no family is safe. Look at this. It's the Democratic Governor Murphy, and he's pulling a child away from their parents.
Daniel O'Malley, Sparta, New Jersey. So, for clarity, these pictures are from a different school district, one right up the road, okay? So, this is an anatomy photo for some people in the back. It's David, and a picture in the school district right up here. So, it's not like we're trying to ban To Kill a Mockingbird. This is literally porno here. You know, that's not a straw, okay? It's edited too. If you want to read it, feel free. There's 30 copies. Anybody who wants to grab it, go ahead.
I think the thought of what's it all about and where's this going and what are we trying to do to our children is my biggest concern when I started seeing it on the news.
I think the parental rights movement is about being heard and about parents and students being heard and their needs being addressed. You know, I always say that the relationship between educators and parents and students should be more like a triangle, right? There's three people in the conversation. There's the child, the parent, and the educator. And I feel like that during the pandemic, it became even more so that the parent was shoved to the side and excluded from that conversation.
So, at the end of 2019, I want to say December 2019, I started hearing some buzz about the 2020 health and phys ed curriculum standards being pushed from the state level. So Governor Murphy was implementing new standards for sex ed. And the more I educated myself on what these standards were and what it meant for the public school system and eventually my children, the more concerned I got.
So the parental rights are, I have a right as a parent to determine if my kid is going to be exposed to any of the objectionable sexual education, sexual content available in the library, or any of that kind of dictation or mandate from the state before I feel it's necessary.
So, as a parent, I have the constitutional right to direct the upbringing of my children. So the school doesn't get to say, oh, because Governor Murphy said that we should start talking about a child's genitals with them in second grade at 6 or 7 years old, that needs to happen. And you have no say. Guess what? We do have a say. And our children shouldn't be the ones to then be segregated, pulled from the classroom, and made to feel like they're doing something wrong when we're really only trying to preserve their innocence and protect them.
I can tell you as a 63-year-old man having adult children, I'd be embarrassed to read these books to my own children who are of age. It would be, I don't know, I don't think a teacher or anybody in the school should be reading these books to our kids.
Not only was the government overstepping the bounds of parental rights, now we found a multitude of sexually explicit books that were present in Roxbury High School library. So when I say sexually explicit, I mean so explicit that most adults blush.
As a parent and a grandparent, it makes me very concerned. I look at it and think to myself, why are we pushing this on young kids to begin with? I think it's way too early for young kids to start seeing any kind of this graphic material. And I agree, there is the internet out there. I mean, there can be anything searched, but then again, that comes back to me as a parent or a grandparent to be responsible for what my kids are seeing on the internet.
If the board members that we're engaging aren't going to protect our children, we need to replace them. So we ended up starting a Board of Ed campaign with the help of Josh Akins from Sussex County, He was working with Arise, and he came and spoke to one of our groups, and we said, we could do this. We have to do this. We ran a successful campaign and unseated 2 incumbent board members that had voted in favor of the sex ed curriculum and supported these books. So we considered that a huge win. We were constantly being told that we were the vocal few. But what they didn't realize is that there's a very silent majority behind us that was willing to come out and vote, and that's what they did.
The first thing you have to do is you have to object that the parents were never notified. So you have to tell the community what the sex ed curriculum that you feel is objectionable, that they should know what it is first. And then have the parents either be outraged to the point where they want to ask questions, and then maybe they want to elect people on the state level who are going to retract some of those laws and mandates for the school. Or maybe say, okay, the cat's out of the bag. Teach us how to teach our kids the most responsible way to have whatever sex they decide that they're going to have in the future, you know, and then maybe it won't be so objectionable. Don't have the teachers be the parent and the teacher. Have the parent be the parent and maybe some teaching, and have the teachers just present the material that the parents accept. But right now, the parents don't accept a lot of that sex ed curriculum. It was forced on them by politicians, not by other parents. And that seems to be the big outrage.
So basically what we're arguing is we're in the fight for against the sexualization of our children in America, and especially in New Jersey. And we feel that this content should not be made available to minor children, especially in the school district where our children are quickly rising. And that's what we spoke to. We spoke to the fact that these are our children, nobody else's, and we have the right to direct the upbringing, and those books do not match the morals and values that I teach in my home. The interesting part comes when we found sexually explicit books in our district library available to minors without parental consent. At that point, we started speaking to the board members because anybody that would see these books would obviously want them out of the hands of children, right? Nope.
I think it's ripe for change. I really do. I think people are incredibly frustrated.
Let's hear it for Joe LaBarbera, Mr. Chairman. What an outstanding job he's doing. Wow, what an honor and a privilege to be with you tonight. This is an exciting event, and you can feel the energy in the room, and there's a reason for it, because the other guys have simply gone too far. They've lost their minds. I love, you know you're having a great event, and you know there's a positive energy in the room when heart attack jokes are okay. Like, that's okay. If you can joke about having a heart attack, then we are winning. And listen. You know, Ronald Reagan talked about it, the happy warrior, the smiling warrior. That's who we have to be as Republicans, as conservatives, as Americans. We've got to be happy and strong because, number one, we know they've gone too far. At what point in any of our lives did you think for even a second that government would send a team of lawyers to not only go after moms and dads and call them domestic terrorists, but in a court of law, take 3 school districts, boards of education to court, and under oath, sitting there in front of a judge, answer the question that whether or not a 5-year-old would qualify as a violation of the law? You would have said, that's complete insanity. But that's what the state lawyers argued. They said that if a child at 5 years old decided that he was going to go from Johnny to Jenny, it would be a violation of the law to tell mom and dad.
I know there are a few school districts that are protesting this. They're trying to buck what the governor has decided to do because they want to be notified if their children plan to transition. They don't want just the teachers to know. The parents have the right to know. How is this flying in the state? I mean, when you have a governor that's saying parents do not have the right to know, I would think the majority of parents would disagree with him.
Vastly. The optics on this is really bad. That's why we're using artistry to make the point, to drive it home to people who may not be aware because they're so busy going to work and raising their families, they don't understand what's being done to them. So we're emphasizing this and getting the message out to let people know that this is an extreme case, what the governor did, and that the future of this can turn ugly in many ways, regardless of whether it's transitioning or not. The fact that the schools of the state would deprive parents of being able to know what's happening to their own children. It's abominable.
The Sussex Republican Committee, along with grassroots activists statewide, are defending parental rights for our families and children. Under the Constitution's 14th Amendment, Section 1, based on Supreme Court case Lassiter versus Department of Social Services, Durham, North Carolina in 1981, and the Parental Rights Act of 1995, parents are the lawful and moral adjudicators of what their children learn. The Murphy regime's implementation of BOE Policy 5756 causes extreme social division and puts a wall between parents and schools, primarily putting children who are in crisis at risk. This policy supports children as young as 5 learning about anal sex, adult foreplay, homosexuality, transgenderism, and forbids parents from knowing what their children are learning about or practicing themselves.
Is we can say we don't agree with the state, but we can't change the law. Only you can, as a voter or a parent, vote in November for the Assembly and Senate, state Senate, state senators that are responsible for writing the laws for your children.
It's transparency within government. It's the ideals of our Republican democracy that we have, the constitutional republic that we built our nation off of. An educated populace is the best way to govern ourselves.
I think we'll see new people on our Board of Ed. I think we'll see new people in Trenton, both in the Assembly and the Senate, that more reflect parents' concerns and parents' needs. And ultimately, I think we'll see policy changes from those people that we put in place. But I do think that there's got to be that shift, right? That we've got to change who's in office, who's setting the policy, and then go from there.